Well, they're Huntington, Massachusetts. Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah, seriously. It's true. They took it all from This is my wife, Jen. Hi, Doctor. This is Dr. Hart. This is Elaine's husband. Elaine, this is That's Elaine. Say hello. They're really good friends with Dr. Grossman. Dr. Hart. All good things. Yeah, not today. Green Bay has to I mean, we all know easy and I do. Very important. No doubt about it. We're going to go sit over here. You can send this same.
Shalom, everyone. My name is Rabbi Eldadun, and it is my very sad privilege to be with you here today. We begin our service with the chanting of the 23rd Psalm. Adonai roi lo echsar b'hinot sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenaleni nafshi yeshovev Yancheni b'maglei tzedek Yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo Gam ki elech begei betzal mavet lo hirara Ki ata imadi Shivtecha umishantecha heima yanchumi Taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorerai Deshanta beshemen roshi kosi revaya Achtov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yamei chayai Veshavti beveit Adonai Leorech yamim Adonai roi lo echsar. Please join me in reciting the 23rd Psalm if you know it. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they give me comfort. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head and oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill winter, we will remember him. In the opening bud and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. We are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember Stanley Grossman. To all of the members of his family and cherished friends who are gathered here today and across the country, we unite our hearts as one and remember and celebrate the life of Stanley. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. And life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Today, we celebrate the life of Stanley. I would be remiss if I didn't make note of the fact that in the middle of December, it's about 50 degrees, and the sun is shining so brightly. You have to take note of that, don't you? Stanley's journey began more than 86 years right here in Cleveland, where he was born on April 9th, 1935. He and his sister Arlene were the children of Nate and Hattie Grossman, and they planted their roots here for practically their entire lives. Stanley, or Stan as many people called him, was born with an inherent sense of excitement, positivity, passion, and a heart so big there always seemed to be room for others. Everyone who came to Stanley's orbit easily described him as giving, kind, and warm. But what is perhaps most unique about Stanley is that he was memorable to all and left a long, long-lasting impression. In his younger years, Stanley graduated from Cleveland Heights High School and received a degree from Miami University in accounting. This not only led to his career of over 60 years, but also led to his fervent enthusiasm for stocks. Monitoring stocks became one of his preferred pastimes, and one of his many disciplines he loved giving advice. This is no surprise to anyone in that he was able to discuss something he cared about while helping others create reliable investments to better their future. Stocks were not the only place where Stanley gave great advice. To many, he was known as the swing doctor on the golf course, where he spent many afternoons with friends, family, and even acquaintances he became friendly with. Solicited or not, Stanley instructed other golf players to perform their best swings because he was so eager to help others improve their game. It wasn't just about educating others, but rather cultivating a human connection. But his hobbies and interests paled in comparison to the adoration and love he had for his family. He thrived in creating a united unit that all felt an intimate connection with Poppy. It was so easy to please Poppy when it came to his family. A phone call from a grandchild or an update about their lives kept his heart filled and overjoyed. He wanted to know how and what each family member was doing, no matter how big or small. He adored his family so much that he was eager to make premature engagement toasts at dinner time. He gave out presents before the holiday or birthday celebrations because he just couldn't wait to light up a family member's heart. Out of deep concern for one's bagel to cool too quickly, he created what later became known as the Poppy style of bagel eating, where he would break small pieces of bagel and dip them into schmear. Stanley wasn't scrupulous for the sake of being finicky. He was meticulous because he wanted each interaction in his life to have meaning and purpose. Stanley's raison d'être, his reason for being, was his family. There weren't enough times or ways he could show them how much he loved them, whether it was helping his grandsons put on a tie before graduation or writing a letter to transfer basketball teams at a different school. Stanley made each interaction with his family and his friends count. In Jewish tradition, we're supposed to wake up each morning as the sun comes out and recite Modeh or Moda Ani, a morning prayer that gives thanks to being alive. In so many ways, it feels like Stanley emulates that meditation. Not only because he loved being in direct sunlight and absorbing every ray in the sky, but because he was grateful to be alive and give of himself to everyone he met, but most especially his family. His legacy is thriving in each and every one of his children and grandchildren in many ways, and in the ways he made the ordinary extraordinary. Stanley was adored by so many and missed by all. He has left everyone who knew him with meaningful stories, life lessons, memories, and love. May his memory be for a blessing, zichrono levracha, and together we say, Amen. At this time, I'd like to invite Kim Finkel, Stanley's daughter, to share a few words with us.
Excuse me. On behalf of our family, I want to thank you all for being here with us today, in person or from afar, via webcam, to honor and remember my dad. Stan the man. That's how he'd introduce himself in his later years. And he was truly the man to all of us. Husband of Nan, father of Dieter, Matt, Jeff, Rachel, Matt, and Jason. A father to our spouses, Patty, Rob, Jennifer, Betty, and Stephen. A poppy to Nathan, Adam, Nicholas, Max, Caroline, Jake, Julia, and Sam. You were his heart. There was no division. There were no stepchildren. His heart was full of love and pride for all of us. Our dad was preceded in death by his parents, Nate and Hattie Grossman, and his beloved sister, Arlene Zitron. He loved his nephews, Neil and Dean, his niece, Allison, Dean's husband, Jim, and Allison's wife, Mercedes, and his great-nephew, Ethan Oblonsky. He adored his California Grossman family, his Aunt Ruth, his cousins, Jody and Jill, and Jill's family, Jimmy, Marissa, and Michael. There is one more person I must mention who was like a son to our father, and that's Brad. Brad and our dad worked together at Wells Fargo for 16 years. He loved you, Brad, and your family, Jen and Paxton. How do you sum up 86 years of a life well lived? You don't. You can't. I think a life well lived is about the relationships and the connections we make. You are all here because in some way you were connected to Stan, and Stan was connected to you. Take a moment and think about a memory that sticks in your mind about our dad. It's important to hold on to that memory. It helps keep our dad's spirit alive. According to a wise person, choose a job you love and you will never work a day in your life. According to this, our dad never worked a day in his 60-year career as a stockbroker. That's a blessing. Our dad loved his job. He loved mentoring young brokers. He loved golf. He loved teaching golf. He loved people, and he loved the sun, as we know. Our dad had a magnetic personality. He was a kind man. He was a sweetheart. He was a mensch. Our dad had many friends. Many preceded him in death. But if you're here and you are one of my dad's friends, you can attest to the importance he placed on his relationships. From Cleveland Heights High and the BATs, to Miami of Ohio and the ZBTs, to friends through work, friends through golf, and numerous friends he picked up along the way, our dad valued the people in his life. I have a few memories I want to share with you with the hope of capturing my dad's essence. We often joked that my dad saw life through rose-colored glasses. I love that about him. With all the negativity in the world, the cynicism, to be able to look at life with a rose-colored tint was brilliant. Throughout our dad's life, he taught us the importance of helping others. In his late 20s, he was a big brother through Belfair, which helps struggling youth. As a solicitor for the Jewish Federation donation drive in Cleveland, he would get cards with the names of Jewish businessmen, I think mostly stockbrokers. And I remember he'd get off the phone and he'd be so angry when someone he knew who made a lot of money did not give generously during the welfare drive. I loved his passion and his commitment to this cause and his strong beliefs in giving. Our father's charitable nature was so pure and trusting. On one occasion, a young man who often parked his car for him in downtown Cleveland asked my dad for a loan. He said, "Hey, Stan, can you lend me $200 and I'll pay you back next week?" My dad got the cash, they shook hands, and my dad drove home for the weekend. When he returned to work on Monday, he did not see the young man. He inquired about the employee, only to be told the guy left town. Yes, the guy took my dad's $200. But instead of being angry, as I think a lot of people would be, I remember my dad saying, "I guess he really needed the money." I love that story. That story is an inspiration to me and to our family. His last gift of giving was to his students at First Tee in Cleveland. It's an organization that uses golf to help young people from all walks of life build inner strength, self-confidence, and reliance. He told me a young girl who had never held a golf club in her hand was so excited when she actually hit the ball off the tee after my dad showed her how to properly hold the club. She said she looked at me and she said, "Thank you, Coach Stan." She called me Coach Stan. He got such a kick out of this volunteer experience. It was hard seeing our dad struggle with dementia and more recently a fall. He was frustrated and angry, and this was hard for those who loved him. He was so blessed to have the love and exceptional care from Jason, Jennifer, Jake, and Caroline. We are all eternally grateful to you for the happiness, the joy, and the delicious food you lovingly provided during Poppy's days in Cincinnati. While his ability to remember stories disappeared, his charm was simmering just under the surface. I want to think that charm is returned to our dad as he's the mayor in heaven, the mayor with the best tan, kissing hands and kissing cheeks, teaching the perfect golf swing to strangers, discussing which stocks to buy, while enjoying his favorite shrimp cocktail, bagels, Poppy style, as the rabbi said, and enjoying a great corned beef sandwich. Our dad had a wonderful life. This is the 75th anniversary of that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, a movie my dad enjoyed, and I want to share a few lines from the movie that could not be more true and appropriate for today. Strange, isn't it? Each man touches so many other lives. When he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole. I love you, Dad. Thank you for teaching me the gift of kindness and showing us all what a big, loving, giving heart looks like. I miss you.
This time I'd like to invite Stanley's son, Jason Weiner, to speak.
Okay, I'm not going to be nearly that composed, so I'm apologizing now. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. These last 9 months with Nan and Stan, they've lived in Cincinnati, has been a blessing for us. There were challenges with Poppy's health. However, Jen and I and the kids felt very lucky to be able to spend these days with him and to help the man who'd done so much for all of us. Despite the dementia, he never lost his kindness, positivity, and complimentary nature. He was so happy to see us each time we got together, was overjoyed to go out to dinner or to come to our house for a grill out. No matter what, Poppy loved his family and thrived on being around all of us. Caroline would always say that if she wanted to feel good, she would go see Poppy. Not everybody has the ability to make an immediate impact on people like Stan Grossman did. I realized this even more when our friends were offering their condolences. The adjectives used were very consistent. Special, kind, wonderful, sweet, cool, of course, tan. No matter where Poppy went, he would make an impression. One funny aside is that whenever Nan and Stan came to visit, I could count on texts from friends saying they had driven by our house and seen him out on the driveway, as they called it, stanning. Today would be the perfect day for stanning, but you'd be in your car with the sunroof down, going like this. There were certain aspects of Poppy's life that were quite overt. His love for his work, his family, his aggressive driving, and his collection of Poppy soul foods, as mentioned, bagels, Poppy style, corned beef, OJ, Diet Coke, chocolate chip cookies, and of course ice cream. As we all know, and it's been discussed, Stan was the doctor of golf who could teach anybody who happened to fall under his gaze. No matter if it was the poor sap who had no chance of ever breaking 100. The funny thing is these lessons were rarely contrived or planned. Jake and I took Poppy to a driving range in the spring as I was headed to play a Jack Nicklaus course, and my swing needed some serious tweaking. Unfortunately for me, the guy next to us got all the attention, and I put many a ball into the Caribbean Sea. Stan's teaching was organic and happened everywhere. Sure, it could happen on a driving range or a golf course, but it was just as likely to be in a living room, on a patio, outside a store, during a high school graduation party, or even in the hospital room of a guy fighting lymphoma. Poppy loved to teach golf, he loved to help people, and truly wanted us to be better. The fact that my son Jake, who is a righty, plays golf lefty, like Poppy, is a true tribute to his backyard teachings during Jake's formative years. The game was a fervent passion of Poppy's that he certainly passed on to all of us. More subtly, though, Stan was he's a quiet teacher of life. Having known him since I was a young boy, these lessons were often unrealized until I reached full maturity and had some semblance of self-awareness. Despite Maddie and my frequent tears after losing games, Stan taught us competitiveness and sportsmanship through his many years of coaching our baseball teams. Seems appropriate that we never won the big one, given our Cleveland upbringing. He taught me integrity and honesty, because these traits were just simply there, innate and without effort. Friendship was a concept still developing in my young mind when the Grossman Weiner families first met that fateful night in Sugar Falls. However, Poppy made me realize what it was meant to be a true friend, despite our many frustrations of waiting for him, talking to a friend or a client at a restaurant. Stan taught me generosity, because there was no one more giving. How I love people was formed as I saw Stan's love for his family, and the family he adopted over 40 years ago. Stan's influence on my life taught me to be a man, and to be one that is constantly trying to be better. As we celebrate Stan's life, what I want to say most is thank you. Thank you for loving my wife and my children as if they were your own. Thank you for being my greatest teacher. Thank you for guiding me and helping me through every aspect of my life. Thank you for loving and always being there for my mom. Thank you for keeping me in the 80s. Thank you for guiding me in my career. Thank you for your frequent visits. Thank you for never allowing us to be late to a tea time. Speed limit and pesky red lights be damned. Thank you for the bagels, the rye bread, and the corned beef. Thank you for sharing your family. But most importantly, thank you for always being there, no matter where my life was going and what I was doing. Not be who I am today without you. I want to leave you with something. During the last days Poppy spent in hospice, one of the amazing nurses, also a Jen like my wife, came into the room and told us that she and her husband were new grandparents. Jen was overjoyed in this new role, and we could hear the excitement in her voice. She and her husband were still trying to figure out what grandfather name to use. Jen heard us calling Stan Poppy and really liked the sound of it. After talking to her husband, they decided that the name they wanted to use is Poppy. Jen told Nan and I this story and asked our permission to use Poppy. I told her absolutely. And the world needs as many poppies in it as it can get. Shalom, Poppy. We love you and we'll miss you always.
For those of you who are able at this time, I invite you to please rise as we chant the El Maleh Rachamim, our memorial prayer as we ask God to accept Stanley's soul. El Maleh Rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamatzei menucha nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושין טהורין, כי זוהר הרקיע מזמירים, את נשמת סטנלי שהלך לעולמו, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירני בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים אל משמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your divine presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto Stanley, who has gone to his eternal home. Author of mercy, bring him under the shelter of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bounds of eternal life. May you be his inheritance, and may his repose be in peace. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated. As we know, Stanley was so giving of himself. And so at this time, for those of you who are wishing to make a contribution in his memory, we ask that you consider giving to the Jewish Federation of Cleveland in memory of Stanley Grossman. Our service at this time is concluding, but for those of you who want to continue to spend time with the family, you are welcome to do so this afternoon into this evening from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Landerhaven, and that address is 6111 Landerhaven Drive in Mayfield Heights. And we conclude our service at this time here.
So everyone else not going to the cemetery may return.